No public images or pictures were released showing how disabled the nation's 32nd president, Franklin D. Roosevelt, was due to polio. Yet this great man overcame his disabilities, overcame his special needs to lead this country out of two great crises, the Great Depression and World War II. Think of what a different world, what a different country we might have if the American public had not elected, in essence hired, FDR to an unprecedented 4 terms as our country's chief executive. What if the American public had known about his disability? Would they have been able to see past it and still hire him to be the president? That's what I'm here to talk to you about tonight. President Roosevelt died at the beginning of his 4th term in office in 1945. Fast forward 35 years, although I went backwards, so we'll go forward. The year is 1980, and I walked into People Incorporated for my first job as a direct care professional, working for people with developmental disabilities in a group home. At that time, employment for people with disabilities meant a sheltered workshop, a segregated setting with piecemeal work and sub-minimum wages. Fast forward another 35 years, and I stand here today as the president and CEO of People Incorporated, Western New York's largest human service agency, and someone who can tell you firsthand about the incredible rewards that you, businesses, and individuals derive when you hire people with disabilities. Let's do a little soul searching. You're working in a company and you've been given the opportunity to hire for a new sales position. You have 3 fantastic candidates. Candidate number 1 is a graduate of Notre Dame. They studied business and have a 2.5 GPA. Candidate 2 studied history at the University of Buffalo and graduated with a 3.2 GPA. And your third candidate graduated from the business program at St. Bonaventure University, graduated with a 4.0. You find out that your third candidate uses a wheelchair. Does it make a difference? Does it affect your decision? Who do you choose? In the United States today, only 30% of individuals with disabilities or other special needs who want to work are fully employed. It's 30%. Although the vast majority of Americans believe that individuals with intellectual disabilities should be employed, 1 in 5 would not do so. They would be afraid to do that. July of 2015 marked the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. This landmark legislation led the way for individuals with disabilities to have equal access, equal opportunity, and equal respect. We've made some great strides in the past 25 years, but unfortunately, employment for people with disabilities has not been a top priority. Think about it. Many of you in the audience went to school with kids with disabilities. You saw them every day, in the classroom, on the playground, in your neighborhood. You grow up, you came into the working world. Where are these people now? Are they in the cubicle next to you? Are they at work? What happened to them? Unfortunately, employers' perceptions of people with disabilities have been incredibly slow to change. I'm here tonight to tell you 3 things about hiring people with disabilities. It's a wonderful opportunity. It is not an act of charity. First and foremost, it's good for your business. Your company would be eligible for tax incentives or subsidies. One of the most important things that we see in business, one of the most expensive things that we do, is recruit and train employees. In my organization, we estimate that cost at about $3,500 per person. Imagine employees coming to you with their own job coach. That's the case for many people with disabilities. They come with someone that can help you train the person, learn the company, learn their job. It's an extra set of hands for you. How great. Many times, market share can be increased by having a diverse population in your workplace that includes people with disabilities. In the United States, it's said that 1 in 3 households have a family member with a disability. As those families, their neighbors, their friends, see companies that hire people with disabilities, they will buy goods and services from you. You will inspire customer loyalty that will last a very, very long time. Walgreens is a company that we all know, and it's a company that understands hiring people with disabilities. But it started with one man, a senior executive who had a child with a disability. His son had autism, was done with school, and could not find meaningful employment. So Walgreens agreed to hire him and a few others in their distribution center. This pilot was such a success that Walgreens across the country have adopted it and also transitioned it into their retail stores. What they found was employees that were loyal, efficient, and dedicated, and much more than their non-disabled counterparts. What they saw was absenteeism go down, turnover be reduced, and their safety statistics went through the roof. Things were great, and Walgreens continues to be a wonderful employer. These things, productivity, efficiency, reduced expenses, increased revenues, why wouldn't you hire people with disabilities? The words you see up on the screen now come from Western New York employers who have hired people with disabilities. I think we'd all love to have employees who are accountable, proud, give it their all, on time. I know a young man, his name is Patrick, and he works in a local restaurant. And he was late for work a couple of times because the bus was late, due to traffic, due to weather. Patrick doesn't want to be late, so he decided he was going to walk. Each and every shift, he knows exactly when he needs to leave, he knows what landmarks he needs to be at, and he has never been late since. The amazing thing is for him, being on time is being 40 minutes early. I don't have too many employees like that, and I know we'd all like them. Being accountable and comfortable with repetition. I was recently at an open house of a local political strategist, and I recognized a name in one of the cubicles, so I was standing there writing a note to Heather, and the owner of the company came up, and we got talking about Heather, and he told me she was the absolute best pollster he had. She followed the script, wrote down all the comments, all the answers to the questions, was there on time, and then he thought about it. He said, in fact, she's my best total employee. And a couple weeks ago, he called me. He had an opening in his office, and he's going to hire another person with a disability. Great, wonderful recommendation. Cultivating company culture. Many organizations spend thousands of dollars and many, many man-hours creating a company culture. Hiring a person with a disability allows you an authentic, a genuine, a loyal, dedicated culture. Local company here, manufacturing company, hired their first individual with a disability a couple of months ago. Patty is developmentally disabled and also blind. And the team working with her noticed she had a hard time reaching her workstation. So they came up with the idea to put some sandpaper on the floor so Patty's cane could feel and get her right to her workplace. She also was kind of yelling out when she needed new supplies because she wasn't sure who was in the area. Team didn't think that was right, so came up with a walkie-talkie system that they use. Talk about company culture. There's a team that worked together to solve a problem of a fellow employee. Didn't need to spend any money on that. Secondly, obviously, it's good for the individual that we give the job to. Studies have said time and time again that we don't work just for a paycheck. We work for a sense of purpose. We work for the constant progress that we make. And it's no different for people with disabilities. Employment opens up so many avenues for you. You meet people. You make friends. Self-worth, self-value. And again, no different for people with disabilities. And finally, much of your identity is tied up in your employment. Think about it. As you meet new people, probably some people you met in the audience tonight, you might talk about what's your name, where do you live, and what's the next thing? Where do you work? What do you do? Nothing could be better than having an individual with a disability talk about your place of employment and how proud he is to be a part of that. One thing I want to say tonight, all the pictures that you're seeing up here are real people working in jobs in Western New York. And finally, it's good for the community, it's great for the community. As individuals with disabilities obtain and maintain employment, they become productive, responsible, tax-paying citizens of the community. I challenge you tonight to consider people with disabilities as a great talent pool, people that are ready, willing, and able to work. But this challenge doesn't come from just me. The City of Buffalo, Mayor Byron Brown, and his administration came up with the Buffalo Opportunity Pledge, which promotes inclusion of people with disabilities in all aspects of city life, but especially employment. And I'd like to point out the young lady in this picture, Jill. Jill is a receptionist at People Inc. She's been at our front desk for 18 years. She greets people, answers the phone, and covers all the front office activities. She recently had the opportunity to talk to a state senator, similar to this day on the waterfront, talking to Mayor of the City of Buffalo. And she told him about her job at People Inc. And what she said was, I wish for all people that they could look at me and see me for my abilities, look beyond my wheelchair. That's just something I use to move around. It's not who I am. Jill is an incredible advocate and great proponent of jobs for people with disabilities. Another person who totally gets it is Cathy Hartman, an owner of a local business right here in the city of Buffalo. She has a wonderful story to tell about Stephen and Teresa, and I could not stand up here and tell the story. I want you to hear it from her.
So we've been in business for 22 years, because my son's 21, that's how I remember that. We started out doing handwork at our dining room table just to get started with things, and then we eventually got some space over on Niagara Street. We're a trade bookbindery for the printing industry in Western New York, and now with our hardcover division, we do work all over the United States. Teresa Woody is a lovely person who's been here for 13 years now. And I think she's 31 or 32. So she's been here since she was a kid. It wasn't very altruistic of me. The deal was that there was a tax break. And at the time we had just started, because Stephen's been here for almost 18 years. And we had just started, and a tax break was nice incentive for us to try to do a new thing. They paid his salary for 6 months, and then after that we picked it up and we decided to keep him, and we've kept him ever since. She's never really missed a day. If she had to call in sick, she follows the rules to a T. She's one of the happiest people I've ever met my entire life. I don't think she ever has a bad day. She just comes in full of life. It probably makes the atmosphere around here better because she creates a positive energy where, you know, people come in and they had a bad night or whatever, and she just brings that glow and just lightens it all up. We don't even think that there's an inability to him or Teresa. We know what it is within their limitations, and they just do it. The people that work here are great people. There's just never been any issue with it. And I think they're all very kind in their own ways, and they're just part of the team. I think the coolest thing is that she the way everybody treats her. She's just a part I can't. It's like anything else, isn't it? Once you get to know a person, you know the person, it just becomes a whole different thing for you. So I think knowing and being around developmentally disabled people helps you to appreciate what their value is and to work with them more easily. I think it gives everybody an appreciation for what other people are like in this world. We never think about discrimination because it's just if the person's able to do the job, we hire them. It's not because they have a particular background or color or anything like that. We just hire the person because they do the job right. It's that pride they take in going to work every day. It's giving them something to do. And I do think that the employers have to have an appreciation for maybe some special needs, but once they get used to what they're doing, it's a piece of cake. It's just not any effort whatsoever. If you try it and you have the right person to help that person along, it's a very, very easy transition. I just couldn't imagine them not being here. It's family. They are just part of who we are, and I couldn't have it any other way.
October just happens to be National Disability Employment Awareness Month. It's been proclaimed that by the President. It's a time to celebrate the strengths that people with disabilities bring to the workplace, to the country, to your community. I challenge you tonight to think differently about people with disabilities in the workplace. Promote inclusion in the workplace, in your workplace. It's time to break down the barriers that exist in our policies, in our minds, and in our hearts. Individuals with disabilities make up the largest minority group in the United States right now. It's a group you or I could join at any minute. A debilitating stroke, a devastating car accident, a child born with a disability. That's all it takes. As you leave here tonight, I challenge you to look at your views of hiring people with disabilities. You just never know. There might be another Franklin Roosevelt out there just waiting to help your company. Thank you.